On July 1st, 1997, Britain handed Hong Kong back to China. In fact, in 1984, I asked Maggie Thatcher the following question after she signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration with the Chinese Premier Zhao Ziyang. I said, Prime Minister, 2 days ago you signed an agreement with China promising to deliver over 5 million people into the hands of a communist dictatorship. Is that morally responsible, or is it really true that in international politics, the highest form of morality is one's national interest? She said Britain had done her best for Hong Kong. Britain had tried everything, done her best, and everyone in Hong Kong was happy with the agreement. I was a solitary exception. Now, we are almost 13 years after the handover. One of the most important aspects of the Sino-British Joint Declaration is the concept of one country, two systems, under which the Hong Kong people under Chinese rule will continue to enjoy the freedoms that they enjoy, the lifestyle that they had under British colonial rule. So, do we still have one country, two systems? My answer to you is yes. Why? Because there are certain things that would not be tolerated in mainland China, but they are permitted in Hong Kong. And I am one of the shining examples. I myself and many of my colleagues in the Democratic Party are not allowed to travel to mainland China. In fact, some other members of the Legislative Council belonging to the pro-democracy camp have not been allowed to travel to mainland China for more than 2 decades. Recently, the Chinese government decided to invite us, the whole LegCo, all 55 members of the council, to go to Shanghai to see the expo. But LegCo has 60 members, but 5 have resigned, and there will be a by-election in the middle of May, and they call that de facto referendum on real universal suffrage. That's their slogan. And the trip to Shanghai is timed a week before the by-election, so that the 5 who will probably, most likely, all return to LegCo, they will not be able to go. So I say, why? I said, why do that? Why target people like that? And why? Why ban us for 2 decades? So I said, I'm not going to go. You want to invite all members of the council? Sorry. I will never step foot on mainland China again until I get back the freedom to travel there freely. Some people instantly ask me, that means, Emily Lau, you will never go to mainland China again in your lifetime. Is that right? Is that what the Chinese government wishes to do? To ban us for the whole of our lifetime? Well, we'll find out. You're much younger than me. But that's one country, two systems. I'm allowed here in Hong Kong, China, but not allowed in mainland China. And the Falun Gong, they are also allowed to operate in Hong Kong, but not in mainland China. But to most Hong Kong people, the Falun Gong is invisible. Because whatever they do, and sometimes they have very big marches of 2,000 or 3,000 people with drums and all that in busy street, and there would not be a single reporter in sight. Because to the Hong Kong news media, that's not news. I think they have given up reporting on Falun Gong activities many years ago. That's another aspect of one country, two systems, which is what we call self-censorship. And it's not just practiced by the news media. It's practiced by the business community, the professionals, academics, the artists, people in sports, practiced by many people. Why do they do it? Because they don't want to upset Beijing. So anything that they think may upset Beijing, they will refrain from. I am a member of the Democratic Party. I'm the vice-chairperson. But I'm also the vice-chairperson of the China Human Rights Lawyers Concern Group. We formed the group more than 3 years ago to offer support to these very brave, courageous, selfless human rights lawyers in the mainland. So this group, our group, is like the Falun Gong, very much disliked by Beijing. So again, the activities of the concerned group are seldom covered by the news media. Maybe not too long, the activities of the Democratic Party will not be covered. Some people say that Beijing's being quite merciful in not allowing us to travel to mainland China. Because if we're there, they may arrest us. They may throw us in jail or torture us. So they say it's much more merciful than to leave you in peace in Hong Kong. But the question is, it's my basic human right. I'm a Chinese citizen. I should have the right to enter China freely, mainland China. But I'm not allowed to do so. I've urged the British government and any other government to raise this with Beijing. Ask them why. Why is it that elected legislators and other Hong Kong people are not allowed to travel to mainland China? I know that one of your former foreign minister, Mr. Bill Rammell, raised this with Beijing a few years ago. And Beijing more or less told him to take a running jump. But I hope the British government, I hope Parliament will continue to raise this. The other aspects of one country, two systems gave us the impression, anyway, more than 10 years ago, is that we would be able to develop democracy. It's very, very disconcerting that the British government failed to introduce democracy to Hong Kong. Even the Falkland Islands, with less than 2,000 people, they had a democratic government. Britain had to go to war with Argentina over the Falklands. And what did Mrs. Thatcher say at the time? I was actually in Britain studying at the London School of Economics, and after I graduated, I worked for BBC Television. I worked for Newsnight. I remember Maggie Thatcher saying, well, the wishes of the Falkland Islanders are paramount. And at around the same time, Britain was talking to Beijing behind our backs, behind the backs of the Hong Kong people, about the future of Hong Kong. So some people confronted Maggie and say, hey, how come? What about Hong Kong? Ah, she said, the situation of Hong Kong is unique. And Sir Geoffrey Howe, who was then Foreign Secretary, said, if we open the door of Britain to the Hong Kong people, if we give them real British passports, they may actually come to Britain. And that would change the racial balance of Britain. But I said to Sir Geoffrey, I said, why are you so worried? If you think the Sino-British Joint Declaration is so good, this excellent arrangement for their transition and life would be great after 1997, why worry that people would upstake everything and come and live in Britain?